Why'd you guys get into martial arts? I see it all a lot on social media. I'm a social guy. I like to scroll. I got a bunch of different social media, X, all that stuff, right? X, Rumble, Truth, of course, Facebook, YouTube, all the good stuff, all the major stuff. Besides Truth, to be honest, that's kind of like MySpace and it's dying. There ain't much going on over there. But anyway, man, I like to be a social. I'm a social guy, and I hear that question a lot. And man, I used to get picked on a lot, and this guy over in Moore, I was in Moore, going over there to Sky Ranch Elementary. This kid said, "Hey, man, come to wrestling with me." And I was like, "You mean like WWF?" He's like, "No, man, real wrestling." And I had no clue what he was talking about. We came from Detroit down here, and back then Detroit wasn't a whole lot of that. And so he's like, "Gotta have shoes." I'm like, "I ain't got no shoes." So we can borrow my shoes this time. So we go over there to Jaguar Wrestling, the Pee Wees. We shoot first. That was our little logo, right? And man, it was a lot of fun. And I was there a couple weeks, and my nephews got in. And it's funny because if they tell you the story or if they hop on the comments here, they'll tell it the exact opposite way. But I was the first one to wrestle, and I really liked it. And I started making some friends, and I used to fight all the time. And I won and I lost, but I started winning a lot more. I learned how to wrestle and how to do push-ups and kind of condition myself. And so that's how I got into martial arts. And I talked a lot with my buddy Helu Halo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. You guys probably know him on Facebook. Some of you guys love him. Some of you guys hate him. He's infamous. But we're cool, and he made a great point, that wrestling is the only free martial art in America at our high schools, and that's true. My parents couldn't afford to take that. I thought karate was great. I'm an older cat, the 80s and late 70s, all the kung fu and karate movies and stuff. That was really cool, man. I would have loved to have done that stuff, but my parents couldn't afford all that, so we tried to train ourselves, beat each other up, me and the cousins and stuff, nephews. But wrestling was my first real martial art, so that's why I got into that. And then, I did 1 year at Pee Wee's, but went to high school and I wanted to lift weights. Like I said, we was broke. Parents couldn't afford weights. Couldn't afford a gym. So U.S. Grant had this rule of the city. U.S. Grant generals, if you played a sport, you could take the weightlifting class. And I was like, okay. So I played football and I did pretty good there. And I played basketball. And man, everybody could dunk on U.S. Grant's team. Like those guys were just amazing. And I almost made, there's 10 spots, and I almost made the 10th spot on the JV squad as a freshman. But those guys were just amazing, man. And the thing that kills me is the kid who beat me like 2-3 weeks later, he had hurt his back and quit. And I was like, what? But when I did make the spot, they were going to drop me out of the weightlifting class. And so some more guys were like, hey, man, we need people on the wrestling team, because U.S. Grants is kind of in the tough side of Oklahoma City. It was a lot tougher back then. And we had metal detectors, barbed wire fences, all that good stuff. Think Dangerous Minds. And, it's a pretty tough area. I wasn't into gangs, nothing like that back then. And so, I needed somebody to kind of watch my back, and the football team kind of did that. But after that, everybody kind of goes their own way. And so I went and I wrestled. And Coach was like, why didn't you come out earlier? And I'm like, well, I've never wrestled. I did do one Pee Wee year, and he said, all right, just don't get pinned, Anderson. He's like, we lose 6 points if you get pinned. If you can just lose by points, it's 3. He goes over the whole point deal with me. He's like, if you don't get pinned, then you're helping the team. And so that was my goal. I was varsity with 1 year at Pee Wee's at U.S. Grant High School in central Oklahoma. I talk about thrown to the wolves, but and my grand plan of having people on my side didn't really work out. The wrestling team wasn't as cool as the football team, and I got picked on and bullied a little bit in this wrestling team, but it lit a fire in my ass, I'll tell you that. And I got a video, and I'll do another video about Peg Leg Bob Jones. Say that 5 times fast, right? Him and his buddies, about 2-3 guys, used to really pick on me quite a bit, and I got some get back on that fucker. I fought him in a professional cage fight and got him. But yeah, man. So I had a rough go of it. I didn't win one match that year, but we won all city because I was able. The other schools couldn't really field a team either, and so I was able to not get pinned a lot. That was my thing, and we won all city, and I learned a lot of conditioning. Coach Gene Knight, and then went to Little Axe with Coach Love. Man, Coach Love, that was a whole other world out there. Little Axe, well, I'll tell you what, back in the late 90s, mid 90s, they used to circle the mat. Everybody was there. You went out bounds, you were going to the crowd. It was really something else out there, and I learned a lot there. And that's when I started to win. I think I went like 5-9, 6-10, something like that. And then I came to Norman High, and Coach Mercer, and anybody around Oklahoma, maybe even outside Oklahoma, knows Mercer is a bad dude. Even at his older age, he was a bad dude, and he was a great coach. And man, I just learned a whole lot with him. And that's when I started winning. I had a winning record. Started really liking wrestling. Started learning about pulling weight. Went to Perry, took fifth there, and yeah, man. So I love wrestling, but and that's why I got in it, and that's my little story about wrestling. And when I say wrestling in America, 99% of the time when guys talk about wrestling, we're talking about folk style wrestling, because that's the free wrestling. You got Greco and you got freestyle, but that all cost, and we just didn't have that.